Welcome to episode 4 of the Fight Night Forecast, where we highlight, recap, and cover all things boxing. How you doing, Justin?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good. Thank you. So we had a pretty exciting weekend, a little more excitement than I anticipated. Starting off, two people that we follow closely here on this show, Eric Ross, your two-time National Golden Glove champion, as well as Shamara Pure Perfection Woods, picking up her second professional win.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I've been following both of them on Instagram, their journeys through all this. I've been following Eric all week, and I've been following Shamara through her fight week, and trying to share when I can and just show a bunch of love, man. So I'm so happy to see that people that we built this relationship with have been out here getting that success, man. It's awesome to see.
Absolutely. I was kind of following Eric's journey this week and just steamrolling the competition. I mean, for people that aren't familiar, it's day after day after day. So I believe it was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, showing up every night.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. His first bout was a medical disqualification from what I saw on his Instagram. I guess the guy had high blood pressure or something, so he almost got like a bye that first week fight. So that might have given him a little extra rest. He might have came in the next one a little fresh. So yeah, man, it's good, man. But you're not lying when you say it's like back to back to back. I remember he literally was like posting, "Oh, I just won this. Now tomorrow, next one, and then Friday, next one." It was a lot, man.
Absolutely. And Shamara Woods picking up her second win down in Orlando. I'm excited to see where she goes from here. Is the third fight going to be in Orlando? I'm not sure. But I mean, these two fights were roughly 6 weeks apart. So I can see her getting back in the ring very soon.
We know it is when you're, an up and coming pro. If you don't take a lot of damage and stuff, you can kind of, get back in the ring quicker recovery times and all that stuff. So
absolutely. And shout out to her coaching too. From what I understand, she could bang, she can hang and she can bang. She got power in both hands, but they're putting an emphasis, from what I understand, in the boxing and the boxing ability. The sweet science, hit and not get hit. So I think they're rolling out her career in a very smart way. They may not go after the first round KOs for the first 10 or 15 fights like some people we see, but they're actually getting experience. She's working on her boxing game, so I think it's going to really pay off for her.
Oh, for sure. It's so important to have both too, man, because people coming up, you see it all the time where you got a guy that, or a girl rather, that like relies too heavily on their boxing skills or relies too heavily on their power and their brawling skills. So it's really nice to see when coaches bring up a fighter where they can use both, right, and use them effectively and know when to use them. And I just think it's super important. And yeah, shout out to her coaching staff and shout out to her for putting in the work. You know what I mean?
So transitioning on ESPN, Janibek picks up another win at 160 pounds. Pretty dominant performance.
Yeah, great fight. I thought it was really good. Janibek surprised me, man, and they kept saying it throughout the broadcast. They were like, this is a guy that people don't want to see at 160. They say everyone's ducking him and stuff. And when I was hearing on the broadcast, I was kind of thinking, oh, okay, yeah, but once he got in the ring and just the way he's got power and the way he's got great IQ. And he's scary, man. He's definitely someone you got to answer at 160. Start putting some of those bigger name guys in there with him for sure.
Coming from someone who was a prime Triple G fan, Gennady Golovkin, it's cool to see kind of a passing of the torch to this latest monster from Kazakhstan at middleweight, no less. So I'm excited to see that passing of the torch and see what Janibek does at 160.
Yeah, for sure. And the undercard on that ESPN top ranked card was actually pretty good. Gabe Flores Jr. had a 30-second knockout in the first round, which is something similar he did, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago, in the same arena, all that. He had a couple losses in the past. He's kind of bouncing back from that. But yeah, Gabe Flores looked good. One of the younger Fernando Vargas' son, Amato, he won. So yeah, KSI fought Fournier on a YouTube boxing bout. Well, I guess I don't know. Do we even call them YouTube boxers now? I mean, those guys are starting to get up there. I mean, I think they both have the Fournier. I'm pretty sure he was like 8 or 9-0, and then KSI is like he was 5-4-0 or 5-0 going into this bout. I'm not too crazy familiar with those guys, but yeah, it was a pretty good bout. I think KSI went in with a pretty good advantage, I would say. And I know there was some controversy about him catching an elbow, KSI hitting him with an accidental elbow or something like that. But yeah, I think KSI's got some good power. I think they're trying to set up a Tommy Fury bout with him coming up pretty soon. So that'd be a pretty big fight to look out for. And there was actually, speaking of Tommy Fury, he got into a scuffle at that bout. So with somebody's trainer or something. I didn't watch the card. I was watching the Rolly card and the Janibek card, so I didn't get to actually watch it. But yeah, there was some kind of scuffle or something, and Fury's dad had to get in between them and break it up and all that. So yeah, there's a lot going on. They're really trying to build that fight up between Tommy and KSI, which I think that would be a good fight. As well as Tommy did against Jake, you know, I think it'll be good. So I like, a lot of people hate, and they're like, oh man, like these YouTube guys need to stay out of it. But you know, there's actually some real good talent out of some of these you know, guys that are calling themselves YouTube boxers or whatever. And I think it's bringing a lot of eyes to the sport also. So you can't be mad at that. It's bringing a lot of new people in that maybe would have never watched the sport before. So I'm here for it. I don't know what you think, James.
Yeah, man, I'm not mad at it. As far, you know, it brings in new eyes to the sport, like you said. And I mean, one of the most hated personalities out there, Jake Paul. I mean, he's no scrub, you know. He could show up at any of these local gyms and give people problems. You know what I mean? He's not just some kid who's putting on boxing gloves. I mean, he's putting in the work. I can't really speak too much on KSI, but I think he's in a similar boat. So that's interesting that they might be pushing towards a KSI and Tommy Fury card. That'd be like a good measuring stick to see how KSI and Jake kind of line up. And eventually a KSI Jake Paul fight would make sense, because I believe KSI back a few years ago fought Logan or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
And it seems to be popular opinion that Jake is the better boxer of the two brothers.
Yeah, even though, you know, Logan gave Floyd Mayweather everything he could take apparently, but no, I'm just kidding. But that was a good exhibition. But yeah, man, I think it's good, man. I think it's good for boxing. And I look forward to see what they have next for KSI.
Next, we have Rolly Romero picking up a strap at 140. He's your new champion, WBA super lightweight champion. A lot of controversy surrounding this card and this fight. What are your thoughts?
Rolly's your new champ, whether you like it or not. So no, honestly, I thought I don't know. A lot of people are hating. They're saying that Tony Weeks was the reason why he got that belt. And listen, Tony Weeks, he's a legend in the game. He's called so many good bouts. Do I think that maybe that call was a little premature? I'm gonna say yeah, but I don't think that we can just go off of what happened, you know, right then in that moment. I think we need to go off of more of like what he had seen the past 3 rounds from Barroso. And, you know, up until the stoppage, Barroso, I think, was winning on all the cards, if I'm not mistaken. Barroso looked good. I thought he looked phenomenal. I had no real background on him. I hadn't watched much of him. So it was one of those things where it was like, this could go either way, you know. And Rolly, obviously, I've seen a few of his fights, but the main fight that I saw of him was with Tank Davis, obviously, and Tank Davis kind of handled him pretty quick. So I don't know. I think really more than anything, it came down to just like Tony Weeks didn't like what he was seeing. You know, from the past 3 rounds, he was stumbling. He got knocked down in the same round or the round before. So I think he might have called a little premature, but at the end of the day, you respect what the ref says, and the ref saw something maybe we didn't. Rolly Romero is your new champ at 140. So what do you think?
Yeah, it was weird from the get-go for me, because Rolly was ranked, I believe, number 5 or 6 for the WBA, and
Yeah,
for him to get the call to go fight for the vacant belt was a little weird. He kind of jumped a few people in line. I know there's some other things going on with the other fighters, but it was kind of weird out of the gate for me. And then, yeah, just the way it played out, Rolly was down on the cards. Some people were saying he was losing every round. Me, I like a firefight. I like two power punchers going at it. But yeah, with the controversial knockdown call and then the controversial stoppage, it's like, man, I wasn't super excited about that fight, but just for vengeance sake and for justice, maybe let's run it back. Can we get a rematch, with all the controversy around it? I'd hate to see them just immediately jump to set up a Ryan Garcia fight at 140 for the belt. Ultimately, I would like to see them run it back, honestly. Barroso picked up some new fans or picked up some new eyeballs on his career. Some people
sure.
watching, learning his name. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him run it back. I like two power punchers going at it.
Yeah,
And Rolly wears that, villain or that hated personality pretty well. So
yeah.
hey, if that gets him on the big stage again and more eyes on it, cool. Let's see it.
Well, and like you said too, I think a rematch would be great.
Mhm.
Uh, he, Rolly admitted it that he thinks that Barroso is the hardest hitter he's ever fought, and he's fought Tank Davis, and everyone knows Tank Davis is devastating power. So, pretty interesting that you know he said that, and I think that yeah, with how close it was before, like when the stoppage happened, that I think that a rematch is almost due. I think in a way, but it is, man. They're gonna go with what sells the most pay-per-views and whatnot. So I have a fear that your Ryan theory might be in what comes to fruition. But yeah, we'll see, man. You never know. We've been surprised by boxing so many times. So
On the undercard, Kenneth Sims Jr. out of Chicago fought a tough fight, but squeezed out a decision. A lot of the people online were saying, "Hey, man, maybe that should have been the headlining fight." Pretty
yeah, it was a good
action-packed.
fight.
So yeah, curious where he goes and what next steps are for him.
So yeah, a lot of interesting guys at 140s, but a lot of these guys are moving up, and you might have Haney there depending on how this goes. So 140s is starting to become more of a stacked division, man, for sure. Nice to see one of the Chicago natives, you know, do so well out there on the big stage too. All right, y'all. So we're about to start this new segment with a question of the week. And this week's question of the week, honorary first week, me and James decided we were going to pick our top 3 prospects. Now, the rules for this are number 1, under 20 fights. Number 2, have not fought for a title or have had a title at any point. And number 3, that they could be signed to any of the major, top ranked zone, matchroom, any promotions, or you could even go, like no affiliation, whatever you want to do. James, I'm excited. I've been thinking about this all week. Me and James purposely did not tell each other our answers because we wanted to see our genuine reaction. So we'll let James go first. James, top 3 prospects.
All right. So if anyone knows me, they know that I'm terrible at lists and I'm terrible at favorites. So I'm just going to throw some names out there. We're probably
No order. No, this is not by any means any whatever, just your names, just your top 3 that you think in no particular order.
Some of the ones that came to my head pretty quickly. Jared Anderson at heavyweight, Xander Zayas at 154, Keyshawn Davis at lightweight. All I believe are picked up by Top Rank.
Yeah.
Future champs. Yeah, those guys are pretty exciting. Honorable mention here, kind of a cliff note since I just mentioned Keyshawn Davis. This is kind of an honorable mention, but we had the recent announcement of Matchroom and Eddie Hearn signing Andy Cruz. Now, he technically hasn't had a professional bout yet, but I believe he's a 2-time Olympic gold medal winner. He's beaten Keyshawn Davis 4 times on the big stage in the amateurs. So I think that he could be a problem. I'm curious to see how he transitions to the pros and what kind of adjustments he can make from that amateur style. And then, yeah, a couple other like honorable mentions or side notes. I'm curious about Brandon Lee at 154. His career seems interesting. I think that he has potential. Get some critique about his defense. So moving forward, if you're going to be fighting the top names at 154 or 160, your defense has to be on that level. Also, a name that keeps popping up is Richardson Hitchens at 140. Out of Brooklyn. Again, career has been kind of interesting recently, but I believe he fights under Floyd Mayweather. So you can't get better tutelage than that right now.
No kidding, no kidding. I'm pretty sure what Cruz got brought up by Eddie Hearn this week, right? And it caused a little drama in the media, I think. Keyshawn Davis ended up clapping back at him. I think they were talking. I think Eddie Hearn might have said, I'll throw him in there with Keyshawn Davis right now or something like that. And Keyshawn was like, hey, man, Eddie, you need to keep my name out your mouth. I'm tired of you. But yeah, so that was kind of cool to see. Like, you always like seeing that when they, as guys fight each other in the amateurs and stuff. Now they're coming up and, lining up potential pro bouts or, you know what I mean? I think it's cool. I think it's nice to have that back history. And you got these guys that were either friends in the amateurs or mortal enemies in the amateurs. You know what I mean? They're coming up now and they're all having successful pro careers that will probably most likely end up intertwining at some point. So I think that's always a cool thing to see.
There's like a weird barrier between like prospect and contender. You know what I mean? So it's like some of the names I'm excited about or people are excited about are kind of in that contender. They're getting ready for a title or they got like a secondary title. So those are my thoughts. Justin, what do you think? Who do you got for your top prospects?
So my man James, he went top rank heavy. He's all over those ESPN boys. So I'm gonna switch it up just a little bit. But here's my top three. Top three for me. I'm going with Vito Malnicki. And again, no, I'm not doing this in any particular order, but I'm a big fan of Vito. He's fought at 147 and 154. Up and coming. He's had one loss. But I think really he's learned so much off that one loss that his past 3 or 4 bouts since that loss has been, a huge step up for him. I think as a fighter, he's matured a lot, and look forward to seeing more of him. I'm going to go with for the second of my 3. I'm going with David Nika. He's a big, strong cruiserweight out of New Zealand. He fought on the New Zealand Olympic team, and he's only like 5 fights into his boxing career, so he's a real deal prospect. But I'm a big fan of him. He's a very like cool, funny, like lighthearted kind of guy. He comes out dressed up in different like Disney characters, like he's done like Mulan, and he did I think it was Boba Fett off of the Star Wars and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. Cool dude. Been following him for a while on Instagram. And I would say my last one, I'm gonna go with Ray Ford. 14-0-1. He has 1 draw, 15 bouts total, 1 draw. Dude's a dog, man, in the featherweight division. I think he's gonna have some big things coming his way too. So, but yeah, those are my top 3. I'm with James. I got a ton of honorable mentions that I can go into, but we'd be here all night talking about it because I'm a big fan of the future of boxing. I really am. But yeah, me and James, man, we want to hear your guys' comments below. So let us know your guys' top 3, or if you feel like one of our top 3 was trash, let us know. Just tell us in the comments.
Another honorable mention. It's hard not to like the guy. I think he has his work cut out for him in his division, but Richard Torres Jr.
Yeah.
Another top-ranked guy, but man, he's an Olympian. So I'm curious to see where he goes too.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna go into honorable mentions, I'm gonna do one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a big fan. Going with Top Rank, man. Bob Arum, he recruited all these guys. I'm a big fan of Delonte Tiger Johnson. He's got a fight coming up. I want to say he's on that Toledo, Ohio card, July 1st. It's got Big Baby Anderson on it. He's the headliner, but big fan of Tiger Johnson too. Yeah, I think he's oh, man, there's so many guys up and coming. Like,
Moving on to news and upcoming, we have count them, two undisputed world championship fights this weekend. We have Haney versus Loma in Vegas, and we have Katie Taylor over in Dublin. Katie is going after the 140 belts now.
James, so what do you think about the Katie Taylor fight?
Interesting fight because she's actually going up to 140 for all the undisputed, for all the belts there. I really think she's a lightweight. I think she's a 135 fighter, but like the Canelos, like the Lomachenkos, which we'll talk about later, she's chasing greatness, climbing weight divisions. So I'm excited to see. It should be a good fight over in Dublin.
I think it's more legacy than anything. You know what I mean? I know she probably is more natural at the lower weight, but you love to see it. You know, you see Serrano doing it. You see Clarissa Shields also did it. I think it's great for women's boxing. Katie Taylor's tough. And I think no matter what the weight she's trying to fight at, I think she's going to put up a good fight for sure. So now with Haney and Loma, exciting in its own ways. They actually just dropped the second episode of the Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Excited to see that. I think, man, that their styles are very interesting, and I think that it's gonna clash in a certain way that I think it's gonna be very, very exciting. You know, you got Haney, that very technical, Floyd-esque style, you might say, very defensive. I would say maybe one of the best defensive fighters in the game today. Slick, fast, smooth. Then you got you have Loma with the more experience, with the angle wizardry that he has, you know what I mean? And him being southpaw, obviously. Honestly, one of the best southpaws in the game right now, I would say. Yeah, I think it's just gonna be a good fight. Just wanted to ask you this, James, just to get a little perspective. What would you say is one key for Haney and one key for Loma that you think is gonna win them the fight? So let's start with Haney. What do you think the key to Haney winning?
I think go with what works. Play into their strengths. Haney is a long, big lightweight with a great jab. So Haney's distance control and his jab, if he can get that working and kind of control the pace, control the distance of the fight, I think it's going to really work well for him. Yeah, footwork is the icing on the cake, but I think Loma has plenty of that, even at 35. But yeah, I think honestly that jab is so important for this fight from Haney.
Yeah. Now, what about Loma? What do you think the biggest key for Loma would be?
A healthy Loma is going to have to worry about getting past that jab and working those angles. Again, playing into their strengths. I don't think there's going to be any huge surprises in this fight. We know these guys. We know what they're good at. It's just seeing if Haney is the bigger guy with the jab that's going to keep Loma away, or can Loma overcome that reach advantage, overcome that size advantage, and do what he does best. I think Loma has some power for his size. You know, he really doesn't. Just like the Katie Taylor thing, he doesn't really need to be at 135. He's small for the weight. But if he can work those angles, if he can land some power shots to kind of discourage Haney, to kind of get Haney off his game, it's going to work really well for him. We saw Haney get hurt in the Linares fight. He did handle it well from a survival
right.
mindset. So as a fight fan, as someone who likes some action, you know, I didn't love it. I didn't love the hugging the last 2 rounds of the fight, but he got the win. He survived. So I'm curious to see if Loma can land a power shot similar to Linares. Is he going to be able to rock Haney and get him off his game? But Linares dropped Lomachenko too. It was a quick knockdown, but he put Loma on his butt too. So I'm not taking away anything from Haney. Linares is a puncher, but yeah, I'm curious to see if Loma can execute those angles. That's going to be key.
I agree. I think a big thing too, just an honorable mention as well, though, the weight. You brought up Loma being small for that weight, and arguably you could say, I know Haney's fought this weight for a while now, but you could say our Haney's arguably too big for the weight. Now he's been talking for a minute about moving up. So I think I'm really curious to see this week with the weigh-ins and the press conferences and stuff as we see them cut that weight. And the last time Haney fought, he looked real drawn back and really drained. So I'm curious to see, not only on the scale, but how he looks these weeks in the press conferences and the interviews and stuff, to see how he feels and see how he looks, So I think that's going to play a big factor in it too. Is the move up to 35 going to be too much for Loma? Is staying at 35 for Haney going to be too draining for him? But yeah, I think that's going to play a huge factor too, more than we want to imagine. So
yeah, I think after Tio beat Loma, who supposedly had an injury in that fight, I think that kind of gave, I don't want to say a cheat code or a game plan on how to beat Loma, but it seemed a lot more attainable, especially at 135, for guys to be able to beat Loma. And I won't get too far into it, but there's a somewhat basic footwork trick that Tio was doing to kind of nullify Lomachenko's angles. And Team Haney, I'm sure that they've thought of that. I'm sure they've thought of ways to handle the angle, to kind of handle Loma's unconventional style. I think the timing is really interesting. So Loma, 35, mid-30s, Haney entering his prime or in the early stages of his physical prime. Great talent, big kid for the weight. The timing's very interesting. If this fight would have happened maybe 3 years ago, it might be a different story. But Haney's maturing. Haney's picked up a ton of experience. He's become world champion. Loma, still looks good, but hey, father time is undefeated. So we might see a little bit of aging in this fight. I'm curious. We'll see.
I am too. I think it'll be interesting for sure. Man, so we got a pretty good undercard also on this fight. We have Valdez returning, kind of trying to claw his way back up after his loss from Stevenson. And then right underneath that, we got a title fight at 115 pounds. We got Nakatani, Andrew Maloney, one of the Maloney twins. And that's going to be a good fight, man. Those guys, I know they're smaller guys, man, but both those guys are power punchers. They got power in both hands. It's going to be fireworks, man. You're not going to miss that. It'd be one of those ones where it's like, try not to go to the bathroom during that one, or go get a drink or whatever during that. I mean, that can literally end any second. So yeah, be on the watch out for that fight. We got a couple of the prospects fighting. Got Nico Ali Walsh. He's fighting an 8-rounder. So it's always fun to see him. The crowd always gets behind him too. So super cool to see. And then one of the Vargas brothers, Emiliano, who is the youngest one, just made his debut pretty recently, within the past year. And he's going to be on that card as well. So just some guys to watch out for. Nice to see, man, whenever you got a real big headliner, and then you got these guys that supplement it so well. I love to see when they build a beautiful card like that. So
a little side note for you casuals or you new boxing fans, don't look past these little guys, these 115-pound fighters. I love the output. I love the volume. Sure, that it's not a heavyweight fight where these huge 250-pound guys are slugging it out, but these guys throw, and you're going to see a ton of punches. It's going to be happening fast. It's really exciting. I almost prefer watching the smaller guys in these situations.
There's action in every weight class in boxing. You know what I mean? So can't sleep on them.
Don't sleep on the superflies.
Never. So now we're going to transition into some upcoming fight news and upcoming fights. So we have Frank the Ghost Martin. He just came off of a win against the Michelle Ali kid. That was actually a really good fight. Speaking of fighters, not being afraid to lose their O. I mean, that was two up and coming prospects right there that really put it on the line and fought. But yeah, so he's returning on July 15th. I don't believe he has an opponent name yet, but that should be coming here pretty shortly. We have also Edgar Berlanga in the 168 division. He just announced this week that he's going to be fighting on June 24th. Waiting for an opponent on that as well, but exciting to see him back after his year-long suspension for biting somebody's ear. We never thought we'd see that again after the 90s, but we are back to biting ears. No, I'm actually a big fan of Berlanga, and I think he's publicly said a few times that he knows he made a stupid decision and he's ready to get back in the ring and not waste any more of his time. And the 68 division is a big division, so I'd like to see him down the road maybe fight a Morrell or maybe even a John Ryder or someone in that area that's going to hopefully move him up to some bigger fights down the road, like with a Plant or a Benavidez or something like that. So I'm excited to see them. Billy Joe Saunders, another person in the 68 division. He just put out on his Instagram this week that he's planning on getting back in the ring this year. So good to see him back. See how he kind of bounces back from the big Canelo fight. That was sheesh. I mean, at this point now, that was 2 years ago, right? A little over 2 years ago, May of 2021. Mm-hmm. So, man, that's been a minute. But, I've always liked Billy Joe. I think he's a very skilled fighter. And I think I've been following boxing media this week. Now that he's announced he's coming back, a lot of people want to see him and my boy Caleb Plant fight. I think that would be a pretty good matchup, honestly. I think you can make a pretty good pay-per-view out of that. Personally, you know me. I got to go with my boy Caleb Plant on that. I think Plant is the better of the two fighters, but might be just a little biased. But yeah, James, you got any upcoming announcements or anything like that?
I have a comment about that. I hope that he doesn't have a Kell Brook moment where the orbital bone never bounces back. I mean, we're talking about bones. We're talking about facial structure here. So sometimes they never get it back. So yeah. I hate to see him get in there and it be broken again or whatever the case may be. So well wishes for Billy Joe. I'm curious to see how his return plays out.
Yeah, I think definitely him taking a couple of years off is probably playing in his favor for the healing process, at least.
Good point.
I'm not sure how active he's been with sparring and training and stuff since he's been on a layoff, but Kell Brook kind of came back a little fast after he broke his, you know what I mean? But yeah, I feel the same for him. Well wishes, and I hope that hope he comes back and he gets whatever he wants out of the rest of the sport for the rest of his career. What's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for tuning in to the podcast. Just want to take a minute to shout out our sponsor, Young Winston. They sent us these awesome hoodies. They sent us a little bit of the gear. Got this wallet. I think it's great. I love it. I actually switched my own wallet and use this. Really easy to use, sleek, nice, easy in and out of your pocket. Pull your cards out easy. I love it. They also have things like gold wrist chains. They have a backpack that I also use. It's got a very, very nice, convenient USB port so you can charge your laptop and stuff. It's great. Sleek, durable leather. Love it. Yeah, they gave us a discount code LTR5 for 5% off the entire site, whatever you want. Guys, thank you for tuning in.